Hey y'all, Emery here, and in this video I want to talk about something I call the preparedness paradox. I'll explain what I mean about that by that here in a minute. But first of all, thank you for stopping by my channel. If you have subscribed to it, thank you very much. If not, please consider doing so, and make sure you press the little bell icon down below there. Ranger's over here shaking, so you may hear him. We're actually at the church today. We're going to do some dog training with Ranger here in just a little bit, but I want to see if I can go ahead and knock out a video here very quickly. You may hear him whining over there, but that's all right. But anyway, click the bell icon so that you know when I have a video coming out, and give me a comment on the video. Before we get started, I'm going to give you a wrist check here. I'm wearing my Seiko 5 Sports SNZG 15J1 automatic field watch. I love this watch. And then as far as a pocket check, this is what I'm carrying. Still carrying the Benchmade bug out. Just loving this knife. As well as my Leatherman Juice CS4. And this plays into what we're going to talk about in this video. Also, for my traditional pocket knife today, is something I just got at Smoky Mountain Knife Works. This is the Case Mini Copper Lock in Amber Jigged Bone. And I don't know if I've mentioned this on a video before or not. I love this pattern. It's a lock back. It's a great little pattern. We'll talk more about that in another video. Talk about traditional knives, things like that. What do I mean by the preparedness paradox? Well, if we think of a continuum, on one end of the continuum would be portability. And this could be, we could be talking about guns, knives, multi-tools, flashlights, whatever. Something that's extremely portable. On the other end of the continuum would be capability, something very, very capable. And the further you get to capability, the closer you get to it, the further you are from portability. And the closer you get to portability, the further away you get from capability. And so the paradox is this: we as everyday carriers, EDCrs, like to be prepared for any eventuality, if at all possible. But we also want to be able to carry all those things with us on a daily basis. And so part of the everyday carry mentality is to come up with things that are multi-purpose, easy to carry, but still have a lot of capability. But the paradox comes in, like we said, the more capable it is, usually the less portable it is, and vice versa. So I want to talk about that, that idea as it concerns multi-tools. Now, if we want to be extremely portable, want to be able to carry our tool with us anywhere, anytime, never even think about it, we could use something very small like the Leatherman Style or the Victorinox Classic. They both have a blade, they have a file, screwdriver tip. This is the Classic SD. They both have scissors, they both have tweezers. The Victorinox also has a toothpick. So there is some capability there, and they are extremely lightweight, very, very portable. But there's not a ton of capability. If you need to cut anything that's going to be more heavy duty cutting than something this tiny little blade can handle, that's just not going to do it. On the other end of the spectrum, you could carry something like the Leatherman Surge. In my opinion, one of, if not the best, heavy-duty multi-tools ever made. This is a big boy from Leatherman, and you know, you have all kind of tools in here. I'm not going to do a full review on this right now, but you've got lots of different capability, as well as the ability to carry extra screwdriver bits in the bit kit. You can have a bit extender on there, along with the tools it has in there. Of course, the great plier set that Leatherman has. And then, of course, you have your blades, saw blade, which can be switched out for a file, which you can also carry with you. You've got great scissors on this tool, as well as, there's your scissors there, as well as a serrated blade. And so just extremely capable. You can just do all kind of great things with this tool, but it's heavy. It's a brick. I mean, this is the pouch that I carry it in, and I can hold my bit kit, the file, the bit driver, all that in there, but I'm not going to carry this big thing on my belt with me all the time. It's just too big, too heavy. So those are the two ends, if you will, of the spectrum. When I think about this and I try and come up with a solution, what I thought was, okay, well, what are the tools that you really need? What are the capabilities that I'm looking for? And then how small of a package could I get that into? As I thought about that, the tools that I want to have with me in my multi-tool would include a blade, number one, obviously, then a flathead screwdriver, followed by a Phillips head screwdriver, a pair of scissors, and then beyond that, in no particular order, a punch of some kind for leather or as an awl. It can also be used as a reamer, a stitcher. You can use it as a scraper for a ferro rod, things like that, a drill into wood, things like that. And then also a can opener, a saw blade, a pair of pliers, and then also something that I have found to be very useful. At one time I didn't think it was that big a deal, but it's very useful, and that is a mini flathead screwdriver. There are times when you need a mini flathead screwdriver, and that's the only tool that will work. And so I found that to be very useful when I've needed that. So those are the tools I'd like to have. Well, I've got all of those here in my Surge, but it's not portable enough for me. On the other end, this is extremely portable, but it doesn't have all the tools I want. And so thinking of that, I come to what I call the pocket multi-tool section of the continuum, if you will, kind of in the middle. And of course, when we think of that, our minds would go immediately to something like this. This is the Victorinox Tinker. This is your classic Swiss Army knife right here. Now the Tinker is kind of the almost, I wouldn't say it's the flagship. I guess the Swiss Champ would be the flagship, but it's kind of the chassis, if you will, upon which many other tools are built. So you start with your main blade on here, and then you've got your secondary pin blade on there, as well as your can opener and cap lifter with the drivers on the ends of the tools there. And then on the bottom, you've got your punch, and it does have the hole there, so you could sew with that. And then your Phillips head driver on the bottom, as well as, of course, your toothpick and your tweezers. And then as you add tools to this, or switch out tools, it becomes a different model. So you add scissors, it becomes a Super Tinker. You add scissors and pliers, it becomes the Tinker Deluxe. You add a saw instead of scissors or pliers, it becomes the Hiker. You add scissors and a saw, and you get this one, the Fieldmaster, which is a wonderful tool, very useful. That was a little screwdriver that fell out there, and I'll tell you about that here in a second. So you can get that. And this, of course, is very pocketable, easy to carry, very portable, and it's also very capable. However, it still doesn't have everything that I would like. It has the blade, the can opener, the screwdrivers, the scissors, the saw, the punch, but it doesn't have pliers, and it doesn't have a mini flathead screwdriver. Now, Victorinox does make tools with pliers on them. Of course, they make full-size multi-tools as well, but I'm talking about 91 millimeter tools like that. But in reality, the pliers are nowhere near as good as a full-size set of Leatherman pliers. So they just don't have that capability. Kind of on the other side with Leatherman, you have things like the Skeletool. This is the Skeletool CX. And with this, you do have a good set of pliers there. Okay, they're not as big as the ones on the Surge or on one of my other favorites, probably my actual favorite multi-tool, the Leatherman Super Tool. This is the classic. I've carried this for years. I love this tool. It doesn't have scissors on it, but other than that, it's just about perfect. So obviously those pliers are not like these, but they're much better than the ones you would find on a Victorinox pocket knife. And then, of course, you have the bit driver here, and this is, you can open this up here and switch it out. It's a two-sided bit, and then in the handle, you can carry another bit there. You can see right there's another bit. So I've got a two-sided Phillips driver there, a two-sided flathead driver there. So you've got your pliers, you've got screwdriver, and then of course you've got a blade, one hand opening. It is a liner lock, 154 cm, so it's good steel. So you've got your blade, you've got a carabiner hook on there. This doubles as a bottle opener. You got a pocket clip. So you have some capability here, but it's still portable, but you're still not covering all your bases. So the solution I came up with was the one that I mentioned earlier and I've talked about several times, the Leatherman Juice CS4. This, first of all, let me just give you what this tool has, and then we'll talk about it. You got a blade here. Now this is kind of a modified sheep's foot blade. It's shorter than the blade on the original version. I like the original version better, but it's okay. It's 154 cm, so that's good steel. It is a slip joint. It doesn't lock open, but it works. You have your punch on here, and this does have the sewing eye in there. However, it's a fairly dull punch, and the edge is fairly dull, so I really need to sharpen that. But the way it comes, it's not super sharp. And I have tested the Leatherman against Victorinox tools, as well as a Remington tool and some other ones, and this one does not come out on top, especially that punch. It's not as good as Victorinox's. You have a saw on here, and that is a good saw. It's double sided, or has two rows of teeth in there, so it cuts very well. That's a good tool, especially for the size of it. And then you have your scissors, and those are excellent scissors. Very good, very comparable to the ones on the Fieldmaster. Then you have your can opener / bottle opener. This also has a corkscrew on it. Now, I don't drink alcohol of any kind, so I don't need a corkscrew. However, you can get the little mini screwdrivers from Victorinox that screw into those corkscrews, and they will fit in here. So I'm thinking about getting one of those. So that's one use for it. And I wish this tool actually didn't have that, but the next step down is the S2, or that's one of them on the next step down. Nothing Fancy loves the S2. A lot of people love the S2. I would carry that, except you don't get the punch or the saw with that one. So that's why I stayed with the CS4. And then, of course, you open it up, and inside you've got your pliers, your needle nose pliers, regular pliers, your wire cutter, soft and hard wire cutters there. And then over here you have your drivers. And there is that small mini flathead screwdriver. I'll tell you how I use this. I am a pastor and a preacher, and my lapel mic, one day we were getting ready for church, and we weren't getting the signal right on the receiver back in the sound booth, and we figured out that we needed to change the frequency on the actual pack that I have on my belt. And in order to do that, there's a small little screw down inside of the battery pack, and the only thing that would reach it is that tool right there. I had to get down in there with that and adjust that screw. And that was the first time that I really realized that, you know, all these other tools, you know, a flathead screwdriver can often be used for a Phillips head if you need to. You can use a blade in place of scissors if you have to. But if you need that mini flathead screwdriver, most of the time that's the only tool that'll do it. And so that's extremely useful. Then you also have a large and a medium flathead screwdriver as well. Those are all on one side. And then on the other side you have, of course, your Phillips head driver, and then there is a lanyard attachment that's folded up down in there. So this covers all my bases as far as capability, and it is extremely portable as well. Like I said, I consider this a pocket multi-tool. Nothing Fancy would call this I think you would call it a medium duty multi-tool. I call it a pocket multi-tool because you can definitely carry it in your pocket like a pocket knife, Swiss Army knife. You can see the thickness there. It definitely has some thickness, not too thick. The width and everything. Let me compare it to the Fieldmaster. There's the width is very comparable. The length is very comparable. Or I'm sorry, the thickness are very comparable in the length. But the width, you can see it's almost twice as wide. And it's definitely heavier. Of course, this has the plastic scales, whereas this is aluminum scales and everything. And so normally I don't carry it in my pocket. I carry it in a pouch on my belt. And this is Leatherman's pouch. This is the second one I've had. These are not good pouches. The clip comes off, the leather on there tears. This actually was coming off. I glued it back and it's actually working pretty well now. But I would love for a different kind of pouch, maybe something like Kydex or something, but it does the job. Now when I'm wearing jeans, I'll carry this in my pocket a lot of times because I've got a fifth pocket where I can carry my traditional pocket knife that I usually carry as well. And so you say, all right, Emery, well, there you go. It's capable and it's portable. However, there's a third thing to consider, and this may sound silly to some people. It's what I keep referring to Nut & Fancy, what he would call second cool. If you haven't checked out Nut & Fancy, I recommend you do that on YouTube. He's the claims to be, and as far as I know, is the original gear review channel. Does a great job on there. But I've watched a lot of his videos, and so he would call it second cool. What I'm talking about is it not only is capable, performs the tasks you want, but you like it. It brings you joy. The way this looks does not bring me joy. I grew up watching MacGyver. And after watching MacGyver, I thought, I've got to have a red Swiss Army knife to carry with me. This brings me joy. Putting this in my pocket. I like carrying that. I like pulling this out and using this. This is a utilitarian tool that does a great job, but I just don't like the looks of it. I don't like the form factor. I always have Leatherman Multitool in my bag that I keep in my vehicle. I have one in the bedroom on the nightstand there. So if I need something, I've got a job that my little Leatherman juice won't handle. I've got that ready to go. But the juice will handle all kind of things. So it's extremely portable, but I just don't like it. And so I began looking for something that was more to my liking, something I liked, specifically a Victorinox 91 millimeter Swiss Army knife that had the tools I wanted. However, as I looked into that, like I said, I discovered that their pliers are just not comparable to Leatherman's. So I kind of gave up on the idea of finding one with a good set of pliers, but I still wanted one that had everything else, and then I would consider carrying that along with my Skeletool, just for the pliers. And the tool that I found that comes closest to that is the Huntsman Light. Now the regular Huntsman is exactly like the Fieldmaster, except instead of the Phillips driver down here, it has a corkscrew. Well, the Huntsman Light is just like that, but it includes an inline Phillips driver, which to me is more useful than the kind of T-handle Phillips driver down here. I'll give you an example. If you have a doorknob that's loose and you need to tighten the screws that are against the door itself, it's very hard to get this in here and turn it with that doorknob being there. But if you have an inline Phillips driver, you can reach it and turn it. So that's a great idea. And with the corkscrew on there, you can include the little mini flathead screwdriver. So that would include everything that I want except for the pliers. But it also, the reason it's called the Huntsman Light is it has a small LED flashlight built in it, which you would think, oh, well, that's great. The problem is it adds a lot of thickness to it, and the light is not very bright, so it's not all that useful, so it just makes it bigger and thicker and heavier. I really don't want to get any bigger than this if at all possible. I'm willing to go a little bit if necessary, but I don't want to go that much bigger. You could get a Swiss Champ or the Swiss or the Victorinox Handyman or the Victorinox Craftsman that has a lot of these things, but they're a lot thicker. They have more tools to them. So that's my conundrum. I want something that has every tool that I want on it, but is still portable. I want portability, I want capability, but I also want, if you will, pleasurability. In other words, I want it to be something that I enjoy. Of course, the fourth corner of that box would be durability. It can't just have the tools. You know, there's a ton of knockoff Swiss Army knives out there that have every tool imaginable, but they're junk. We see these all the time, you know, at gas stations and gun and knife shows and everything. So it's got to be durable as well as portable and capable, but it needs to bring me pleasure as well. I want to enjoy that. Now, for the time being, I'm just going to continue to carry my Leatherman Juice CS4. It's definitely not perfect, but it does have the tools I want and need, and it does a good job. So my question to you is this: what is your preparedness paradox? What is your conundrum of carry? What is it that you say, I just can't get this particular thing? Maybe it has to do, you know, we could talk about knives and everything, but maybe it's with flashlights or guns or multi-tools or whatever. What is it that you say, man, I just wish it had this and this and didn't have that? Now, of course, you can get custom-made Swiss Army knives. People do that. However, that's very expensive, and so that's the other end of it. Affordability, there's the other ability in there that goes with that. You got to have that as well. But in the meantime, I'm enjoying carrying what I have, and let's be honest, we're blessed to have all the tools that we have and to be able to buy these things and carry them, and so I'm thankful for that. But, you know, it's a never-ending quest to find the perfect tool, to find Excalibur, if you will. So anyway, that's something that I think others might deal with as well. So you let me know, what is your, what's the thing that you wish you could get the perfect tool about? Let's talk about it in the comments. And that's all for this video today. I'll have more videos coming. I've got some ideas for some very interesting videos coming up soon, so on completely different subjects. So keep an eye on my channel, and I'll put a new video out soon. Until then, God bless and War Eagle.